I started this conversation with Tyler's grandfather, and I asked what they were to Tyler, and he said, well, we are grandparents. And I was like, oh, wow. So we got into the conversation, and he said, I think your grandson was framed. And he said, oh, yeah, I think he was framed too. And I'm.
What are you guys for Tyler? What are you for Tyler or the other stuff?
Grandparents.
Oh, your grandparents? Oh.
I'm
Did you?
100 what for the rest of you do.
Man, you know, your grandson, I can tell you that you're very right.
So you have to argue that the sheriff is compromised, that every FBI agent in Salt Lake City is compromised, the father is compromised, the boyfriend, whom they're gonna probably have testify in front of the world, is compromised. Tyler Robinson's computer is compromised. You got all of this compromising when at the end of the day, a nut job who hate Charlie tried to kill him, like all of these nut jobs that try to kill conservatives in other capacities. Let me ask you something. Have you ever Googled your own name? Do it sometimes, and I promise you, you'll be shocked at how much of your private information is out there. Your address, phone numbers, even your family details. And here's the crazy part. Data brokers and random websites are selling your information without your consent. That's where Incogni comes in. Incogni tracks down and removes your personal data from hundreds of data broker sites, the ones that collect, sell, and repost your information for profit. And now with Incogni's custom data removal, you can maximize your online privacy. That means if you find your personal information on any site, you can just send Incogni a link and their privacy experts will handle the rest. It's that simple. Remember, a VPN protects your data going out, but Incogni removes what's already out there. They cannot harm what they cannot find. And this isn't some shady privacy gimmick. Incogni's custom data removal process was verified by Deloitte, proving they actually get results. Take your personal data back with Incogni. Use code Tatum and get 60% off an annual plan at incogni.com/Tatum. That's incogni.com/Tatum. Protect your privacy today. All right, let's get to something more interesting. Tyler Robinson's grandfather. I guess this was leaked to the media. I saw a couple people sharing this online, and this is allegedly Tyler Robinson's grandfather saying that he believed Tyler Robinson was set up. I want to play the clip for you. It appears that the people who recorded this clip did a podcast, so it appears to me that it's verifiable. We're going to play it, and then I'm going to give you my thoughts. Roll it.
Someone have a stash of favors. Oh, they did? Like crappy food or?
Just snacks.
Yeah. What are you guys for Tyler? What are you for Tyler or the other stuff?
Grandparents.
Oh, your grandparents? Oh,
I'm really sorry you're going through this.
yeah, it's tough for you guys.
Yeah, it sucks. But we're here to support them. So.
Yeah, we think your grandchild is absolutely framed, but I'm an investigative journalist, so.
Well, I can see. I'm 100 what for the rest of you do.
Man, you know, your grandson, I can tell you that you're very right. That's why,
And
yeah,
my dad was a cop for years.
yeah.
We showed him all of this.
Yeah, of course, but.
All right, here's my thoughts on this. First of all, this is called terrible journalism, because when you're a journalist, you're supposed to be impartial as a journalist. Therefore, you can get unprovoked information out of people, which means you don't let people know what your stance is before you talk to them and ask them questions to see if you can get a genuine response. But to get on there and say, yeah, you're 100% right, I believe your grandson is framed, two things that I think about. One is that they may have wanted to go along with the journalists because they were put on the spot, or they may actually believe this. Now, there's two more things that arise. One is that they believe it because they have actual evidence for it to be true. And the other thing is that they have compassion for a family member, like most people do. Even if they know their grandson guilty, they're going to stand by him no matter what. How do you know that, Mr. Tatum? I have a family member that's doing life in prison right now. He committed a crime it was on television, televised, on the news. My uncle running out the thing with he's my great uncle. He's running out of the grocery store after tried to shoot, and he robbed the convenience store. He tried to shoot the man with a shotgun. He ducked. He takes the cash register, run out and dump the money, get caught later. And people in the family still act like he innocent. But he framed. He on camera shooting a guy at the stove. And people still think he didn't do nothing. So, in part, I'm not saying it's unequivocal. We will see in the court of law, but in part, the grandparents could be falling for that fallacy that the grandson didn't do anything. Now, I find it very interesting, and this could just be an edit from that. Why is it only 50 seconds? Two things. Why is the recording only 50 seconds? And why is the recording coming out now and not when it happened? Can somebody explain that to me? Typically, when you have evidence or you have some breaking news, why would you hold on to it for 6 months? Or however long. I don't know how long it's been since Charlie was killed, but 4 to 6 months? How do you hold on? It's about 6 months. How do you hold on to it that long, and then all of a sudden, when the trial is doing this, you go put it out? It's one thing you're trying to be salacious, or it's suspicious, in my opinion. Well, here's what I believe the journalists, their website said. The narrative just collapsed, and which is completely stupid, but I'll articulate this to you. It says the narrative just collapsed. Leaked audio of Tyler Robinson's grandfather destroys the state's case. If you are still buying the official Fed slop, see, when you can tell a person is biased by terminology. Fed slop is a biased terminology. You're not impartially. You already made your mind up that this is a conspiracy. That the Fed slop, a story about Charlie Kirk's assassination, you need to listen to this immediately. And then it goes on to say, Kansas On just aired exclusively elite courtroom audio of Tyler Robinson's grandfather talking to reporters Elizabeth Lane during a hearing break. For months, the media has pushed the lie that Tyler Robinson's family abandoned him and turned him in because they recognized the grandfather's gun in the news, which none of that is true. The reality is that the news used fake stock photos, not the actual gun. Sheriff Brooksby admitted Tyler was coerced to surrendering under threat of massive SWAT raid and on his family. And now the grandfather, the original owner of the alleged murder weapon, is speaking out. Now, let me just put this in perspective. I know that there's a lot of people that believe, wow, this is breaking news. This has nothing to do with the case. When I say nothing to do with the case, this will not sway overwhelming, compelling evidence just because the grandfather is saying that he believed that he was set up. The grandfather in this recording isn't denying that the gun is there. Who is denying that the gun is there? Is the grandfather going to deny that his DNA was on the gun? I don't want people to say, I believe Brandon Tatum or anything. I want you to balance your perspective. You have one side that says that we have the shooter and everything, and then you have a conspiracy side. Let's play out the conspiracy side. They framed him. Who is they? Israel. We know that's not true. But just say the FBI framed him. At what point did they decide to frame Tyler Robinson? Months ago? Years ago? How did they make it such a perfect timing that Tyler Robinson was on campus the day of the shooting? He was at least 200 miles away from his house because they got him in an impartial video at the Dairy Queen. How did they get him to set up to look like this and like this? How would they get a text message from his dad saying, hey, where's your grandfather's gun that you have? His dad told the police that that was the gun that belonged to the family. His mother and father both identified him on the surveillance footage, that they coerced the parents. So when you start saying that they framed him, you got to go down a rabbit hole that's almost impossible to go down because he even has statements to say that he did it. And then just say that it's all made up. Why would they choose Tyler Robinson? He looked like an inbred, mindless individual. Why would they pick him? Why couldn't they pick somebody else? And here's the thing, too, that I think about, because I consider conspiracies, too. If they smart enough to find a random kid, convince him to do XYZ, in which case they can frame him by showing the video to the world and his parents somehow identified him with his DNA on the gun and everything else, then why do you think they're not smart enough to fake the statement that he confessed? To make it sound real and reasonable, where you would never know. But you're telling me they did all this coordinated effort and they couldn't get the confession letter right. They did all of this coerced stuff, but they somehow got a gun where grandfather could get on the stand and say, that ain't even my gun. They can fake it all, but they can't fake that. Well enough that it can't be disproven. They can fake it all. But when you understand investigations, you understand that you can't really fake DNA. Where did they get his DNA from? And this is one thing that I want you guys to know. I don't want to be too argumentative because I know people get in their feelings about it. But think about this through real quick. When you go to submit evidence, the FBI doesn't take the evidence and the FBI director go and look at the evidence himself. They submit the evidence to a secured crime lab, which is a separate entity. There is no cross-pollination in the crime lab. They have to have a chain of custody. They submit the evidence. The crime lab takes over the evidence. The crime lab does an impartial evaluation of the evidence that's verifiable by people who are going to come and to testify that it's not connected to the FBI or any investigatory body. And then once it is done and the evidence is done, the processes are all verified. The processes are they're going to have somebody testify to prove that the process was impartial and all of the above. The defense will have a chance to argue that, which they were going to have no argument because this is probably a long-standing crime lab that's been around for 50, 60 years or even more that have done 200,000 cases, and 99.9% of all their cases have been 100% foolproof. And so it's going to go down, and you guys are going to see that people are just needing content to be juicy. Here's the ladies that allegedly did this this interview, and this is what they had to say about it. Roll it.
Me and Brandy got to talk to Tyler's family. And I have to say that I really like Tyler's grandpa and Tyler's dad. They were all there, so both grandmas were there, and grandpa was there as well.
There was 9 family members there, I believe.
I started this conversation with Tyler's grandfather, and I asked what they were to Tyler, and he said, well, we are grandparents. And I was like, oh, wow. So we got into the conversation, and he said, I think your grandson was framed. And he said, oh, yeah, I think he was framed too. And I'm
Both
100.
of them. The grandma nodded her head too.
Yes. And this is the grandpa whose gun Tyler supposedly used to kill Charlie Kirk. So grandpa whose gun was used said that the 30-06, the gun, Tyler could not have killed Charlie Kirk with that gun.
No.
Ridiculous. Just this should be one of the most damaging thing against prosecution.
All right,
Right.
time out. Let me tell you why this is not. Because that man can say whatever he wants to say. But they have a gun with Tyler Robinson's DNA on it, verified through a crime lab. And they also have Tyler Robinson's father communicating with Tyler Robinson's concern that when he sees the gun on the news, he confronts his son and says, Tyler, where's that gun at? Tyler couldn't produce the gun. Tyler goes on to a messaging thread with his lover and articulate that he hid the gun in the bushes and police are surrounding the gun. So independently, law enforcement is in a particular area that connects with what his statement was on a separate chat to his lover that he thought nobody would see. And he goes on to confess. He talked to his family before saying the time has come, making crazy statements about his hatred towards Charlie Kirk. I mean, you got a plethora of different evidence. I'm going to let him finish one more point, and then I'm going to show you some information from somebody that messaged me on my platform saying that they were or they knew a neighbor that has Tyler Robinson on film running through their backyard when he hit the gun. Let him finish.
Would like to know how they actually got him to go in and if the story we're being told is authentic at all.
No, I don't think so, because Brandy,
No.
talk about this. So what did you feel between the chemistry between grandpa and father? I think they were on the same wavelengths, in tune, and all of this, right? Like they were very close to each other. They were sitting right next to each other. So my thought is that if grandpa thinks this story is bullshit with this whole gun and everything, father thinks that too. Well,
Right.
then
I don't think there's
really,
any way that the father turned him in.
No
I just don't. And I've spoken to another family member who was also there yesterday. I'm not going to say who, but she said that about 2% of what you hear in the media about Tyler Robinson is true, and they don't think he was capable of doing something like that. And then you have the grandpa saying that he thinks that he was framed, and the grandma nodding.
Right. Could he be framed? Is it a possibility? Could the family be telling the truth? Yes, there's a possibility. The likelihood is not that prevalent. He's framed. Who did it? Also when it comes to the last statement that they made in saying that they think that the father and the grandfather is in lockstep when it comes to this. According to who? They said it. Why not release the video of it, the audio of it? They only showed us 50 seconds. What's on the rest of the audio? What's on the 2, 3, 10, 15-minute audio that's being said that they refused to put out or they did not put out for whatever reason? You just talked to them for 50 seconds? I would think that they would put a lengthy audio out so people can decipher for themselves what the protocol is. Now, I'll add this to it as well. It's family members always say, my family didn't do nothing. We see it happen all the time. Maybe they believe it, maybe he didn't, but we have a text, we have a message, and I can't verify if this is true or not. I'm just giving a statement here, or at least showing you what people are sending me. It says, I live 8 blocks from UVU in Utah. I grew up on that campus. Tyler Robinson ran through my friend's sister's yard, and they have him on camera, turned it in. There's more evidence out there than what you see on the surface. Now, I know there's more evidence because I've done investigations before, and I understand that we cannot disclose majority of the evidence to the public. So whatever they're showing, there's like 3 or 4 times their evidence behind the scenes. And also they say there's impossible that Tyler Robinson father turned him in. I'm telling you, y'all. And it's interesting that these girls are saying this. It would be also interesting as the family is saying this, because in the affidavit, probable cause statement to make an arrest, they articulated that there was a conversation between Tyler Robinson and his father, and Tyler Robinson wanted to take his own life, that his father convinced him to come down and turn himself in with the assistance of the neighbor who was a sheriff. The actual sheriff did a press conference explaining how they got to the conclusion of Tyler Robinson turning himself in. So you have to argue that the sheriff is compromised, that every FBI agent in Salt Lake City is compromised, the father is compromised, the boyfriend, whom they're going to probably have testify in front of the world, is compromised, Tyler Robinson's computer is compromised. You got all of this compromising when at the end of the day, a nut job who hate Charlie tried to kill him, like all of these nut jobs that try to kill conservatives in other capacities. So we shall see when the preliminary hearing happens. You're going to get a lot of information, and you're going to be able to hear the argument of probable cause for the defense, the probable cause for the prosecution and the rebuttal from the defense. And we shall see. But I'm telling you right now, I've been right about every case that I've been on. And I say 2 didn't go the way that I expected it to go in the trial, but I was completely correct about it. And both of them were for political reasons, not anything else. If you change this person out for this person, the officer would have been found not guilty. It's just that simple.